What if I told you the reason most people stay broke has nothing to do with income, education, or even debt? It comes down to one brutal truth. Most people are trapped in a mindset that spends to feel good, instead of spending to grow rich. It's not how much money you make. It's how your behavior handles it. This video is all about breaking the cycle, why most people stay broke and never learn this money truth. If you've ever wondered what holds people back financially, you won't want to miss this. We're breaking down the #1 money habit that quietly sabotages your future and the exact steps wealthy people use to break free. So stick around, because this truth might sting, but it could also be the wake-up call that changes everything. There was once a guy named Marcus. In his late 20s, he got a bonus at work, $20,000. It was more money than he'd ever seen in one go. His friends said, "Man, you deserve to enjoy it." So he bought a new car, took a trip to Vegas, even upgraded his phone and wardrobe. 2 months later, the money was gone. All of it. What's wild? He didn't waste it on anything bad. He just made the mistake that keeps most people broke. He spent to feel successful, instead of becoming successful. Years later, Marcus looked back and said, "If I'd invested that money, just half of it, I'd be financially free right now." But here's the thing. Marcus isn't rare. He's the norm. Most people don't stay broke because of bad luck. They stay broke because they don't know what money is really for. And that is the exact truth we're about to uncover in this video. Now, maybe you've never had a $20,000 windfall, or maybe you did, and it vanished just like Marcus's did. The truth is, it's not about the amount, it's about the mindset. Because until you master how you think about money, no raise, no bonus, no lucky break will ever be enough. This video is your chance to break the pattern. So if you're ready to flip the switch from surviving to building real wealth, you're in the right place. But before we jump in, hit that subscribe button. Now, let's kick things off with the first trap, the one almost everyone falls into without realizing it, the comfort trap. It starts with a paycheck. You cover your bills, buy a few treat-yourself moments, and maybe stash a little into savings when it feels right. It's familiar, it feels safe, and before long, it becomes a routine, a rhythm you stop questioning. But here's the uncomfortable truth. Familiar doesn't mean functional. In fact, the comfort zone is where most people's wealth goes to die. Why? Because staying in familiar patterns means you rarely challenge your money habits. You don't invest, you don't track, you don't grow, you repeat. Here's the kicker. The poor and the middle class often stay poor, not because they lack opportunity, but because they keep repeating the same behaviors with higher income. More money, same mindset. That's how lifestyle creeps in and devours your future. Now imagine if that same energy, those same dollars, were funneled into assets instead of Amazon. That's the first shift the wealthy make. They stay uncomfortable on purpose. They treat excess cash like seeds, not rewards. It's not about being frugal. It's about being intentional. And if you've been feeling stuck, like you're working hard but never quite getting ahead, this might be why. You're not failing. You're just looping. What if I told you your income isn't the problem, and math isn't holding you back? Up next, we're cracking open the psychology of money behavior, the hidden force shaping your financial future. Now let's move on to the next trap, because if you don't recognize this one, you'll never escape it. Most people stay broke not because they lack opportunity, but because they lack clarity. See, money isn't just about math, it's about behavior. And one of the most dangerous financial behaviors? Confusing income with wealth. Someone can make $150K a year and be broke. Someone else could make $50K and be financially free. The difference lies in what they do with their money, not how much they earn. That's the money truth most people never learn. In the book, The Psychology of Money by Morgan Housel, he explains it perfectly. Wealth is what you don't see. It's the cars not purchased, the vacations not taken, the clothes not bought. It's the discipline of delayed gratification, choosing to build before you flex. The poor mindset says, I earned this, so I deserve to enjoy it now. The wealthy mindset says, I earned this, so I'll use it to build something bigger. And this isn't about being frugal to the point of misery. It's about redefining wealth as freedom, not stuff. And here's the twist. Many people look rich, while secretly drowning in debt. Others live quietly and retire 10 years early. Which brings us back to the main core of today's topic, why most people stay broke and never learn this money truth. Because without understanding that income does not equal wealth, people keep running on a treadmill and calling it progress. What if I told you the biggest financial trap isn't what you think? Up next, we're uncovering the one habit that keeps people stuck, without them even realizing it. Let's dive in. One of the most invisible traps that silently keeps people broke is spending to feel good. This habit doesn't show up as recklessness. It shows up as self-reward, deserved comfort, or I work hard, I deserve this. And here's the brutal truth. Most people aren't spending money. They're medicating emotions. Tough day, order takeout, bored, add to cart, feeling insecure, swipe the card for something flashy. But what happens when that temporary relief fades? Guilt sets in, stress rises, and the cycle repeats. The wealthy don't avoid spending. They redirect it. They spend to build, not to soothe. They buy assets that grow in value, not liabilities that lose it. They don't say, I deserve this. They ask, will this help me grow? Think of it like this. The poor use money like a painkiller. The wealthy use it like a seed. One numbs, the other compounds. Breaking this habit starts with awareness. Track your emotional purchases. You'll start to see patterns. When you spend, why you spend, and whether it moves you forward or holds you back. This isn't about guilt. It's about regaining power. Here's an insight that goes beyond the obvious. Studies in behavioral finance show that simply waiting 24 hours before making a non-essential purchase dramatically reduces regret and increases long-term savings. That's how the rich do it. Intention before impulse. So if you've ever felt stuck in a cycle of spending and regret, this is your chance to cut the loop. All right, let's move on to the next hidden trap. The one that silently drains your money, time, and energy. The inability to say no. Let's dive into why saying yes costs more than you think. It sounds harmless. A small subscription here, a dinner out there, a sure I'll join every time someone invites you somewhere that costs money you didn't plan to spend. But over time, saying yes too often becomes one of the most expensive habits you'll ever have. Here's the thing. Every yes has a price, not just in dollars, but in opportunity. When you say yes to buying those $150 sneakers just because they're on sale, you might be saying no to investing that money in a compound growth asset. When you say yes to a friend's last-minute trip, you may be pushing your debt payoff further down the road. And here's the kicker. People often say yes not because they want to, but because they're afraid of missing out or disappointing others. That emotional spending, rooted in guilt, peer pressure, or impulse, keeps people broke, no matter their income. Greg McKeown's book, Essentialism, delivers some hard-hitting truths, like this one. If you don't prioritize your life, someone else will. And that's the reality. Either you take control or someone else will. The wealthy? They're masters at saying no, strategically. Not to be stingy, but to guard their time and money like their future depends on it. Because it does. And that's the behavior shift most people never learn. Building wealth isn't just about knowing what to say yes to. It's about knowing when to say no. Want a quick breakdown of the book Essentialism by Greg McKeown? Drop the word book in the comments and I'll summarize it for you. All right, let's keep this momentum going. Because now that we've uncovered how saying yes can quietly erode your financial future, it's time to flip the switch and talk about how the wealthy build wealth by design, not by accident. You see, most people operate in default mode. They let their paycheck dictate their choices, let their inbox set their priorities, and let their emotions drive their spending. They're reacting, responding, drifting, and drifting never builds wealth. But the wealthy? They live on offense. They design systems that work even when motivation fades. Automated investments, scheduled budget reviews, rules for how and when to spend. It's not glamorous, but it's effective. This is the part where many people tune out, because structure doesn't feel sexy. But here's a truth bomb. Freedom without discipline is chaos. And chaos with money, that's how people stay broke, regardless of income. One powerful strategy used by the wealthy is value-based spending. They don't just track expenses, they align spending with their deepest values. If a dollar doesn't reflect their vision or priorities, it's cut ruthlessly. Let's circle back to our core question: why most people stay broke and never learn this money truth? And here it is, the undeniable truth. Wealth isn't luck. It's built, brick by brick, habit by habit. The difference between broke and wealthy isn't willpower, it's design. Because when your environment is engineered for growth, results become inevitable. Coming up, we'll dive into one of the most misunderstood ideas in money: discipline. Spoiler alert, it's not about restriction, it's about expansion. And it's the mindset shift that could unlock everything. Now let's talk about the habit that turns average earners into unstoppable wealth builders: discipline. Now I know, discipline isn't the sexiest word. It sounds rigid, boring, even limiting. But here's the truth most people never learn. Discipline doesn't restrict your life, it expands it. The reason most people stay broke isn't that they don't work hard or earn enough. It's that their money behaves like a toddler with a crayon and no supervision. Chaos, mess, regret. Discipline is what gives your money direction. It's the reason some people can retire early on a $60K salary, while others live paycheck to paycheck earning triple that. And in case you're thinking, but I'm just not a disciplined person, think again. Discipline isn't something you're born with. It's something you design. The wealthy build rituals around their money. They automate their investments. They set spending limits before the urge hits. They track, review, adjust, and they do it consistently, whether they feel like it or not. There's a quote from James Clear that hits the nail on the head. You do not rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems. Discipline is your system. And here's the big idea. The more structure you have, the more freedom you gain. Financial discipline leads to life flexibility, where your money works for you instead of owning you. Let's return to the core question. Why do most people stay broke and never uncover this financial truth? Here it is. Discipline is the bridge between desire and results, between knowing better and doing better. Next up, we're bringing it all together with one final, powerful insight. Because understanding these truths is one thing. But knowing exactly how to take action? That's where real transformation begins. Let's keep the momentum going, because now it's time to expose one of the biggest secrets in wealth building that almost no one talks about. The rich don't just make money. They train their behavior to serve their goals. Most people believe that becoming wealthy is about earning more, getting lucky, or having some secret investment. But here's what the wealthy actually do differently. They design habits that protect their money before they even make it. Think of it like elite athletes. They don't just show up and win games. They build routines, rituals, and environments that make success almost automatic. Wealthy people do the same with money. They automate their finances, investments, savings, even giving, so they don't rely on willpower. They review their financial performance like it's a business. They read, they reflect, they improve, consistently. And here's the twist: they don't rely on motivation. They rely on systems. Let's break away from conventional thinking for a moment. A study by Duke University found that nearly 45% of daily behavior is habitual. That means if you build wealthy habits, you get wealthy results, even on autopilot. Think of it like this. Your money behavior is like a thermostat, not a thermometer. It doesn't just reflect your environment, it sets it. When you raise your financial standard, your habits follow. If I had to put it in just a few words, here's the perfect way to say it. Your habits will either serve you or enslave you. There is no in-between. So if you're tired of trying harder and seeing the same results, it's time to build smarter. Because wealth doesn't come from a single big win. It comes from small actions done right, over time, by design. Now let's bring it home. We started this journey with a truth that stings. Why most people stay broke and never learn this money truth. And now, you've seen the pattern, the comfort traps, the distorted views of wealth, the emotional yes that sabotages long-term progress. But here's where everything turns. Most people aren't broke because they're lazy or unlucky. They're broke because they're repeating money habits they never questioned. The good news, you can break the cycle. Wealth isn't a mystery. It's a mindset, and behavior is the bridge between your current reality and your financial future. The wealthy behave differently not because they're born that way, but because they chose to act differently, repeatedly, until the results compounded. So, what's the habit you need to fix? It's this. Stop spending to feel better. Start spending to grow better. And once you shift that, everything changes. You begin to measure purchases by their future return, not their momentary thrill. You track, you reflect, you adjust, you grow. Remember, your habits will either serve you or enslave you. This is the moment to decide which side of that line you're going to live on. You've got the blueprint now. You've seen the loops that keep people stuck. And more importantly, you've seen how to break free. So here's your call to action. Watch this video again if you need to. Share it with someone you care about and drop a comment with the word "ready" if you're done playing small. And if you found value today, I highly recommend watching my next video. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. I appreciate your support. Until next time, stay consistent, stay patient, and stay winning. See you in the next one, Money Magician.